Hello, welcome to Give It a Go Beginner Yoga. My name's Lauren. Thank you so much for coming. Whether you're new to yoga or whether it's a regular part of your life, this practice should be gentle and soothing and easy to follow. We're going to start off gently warming up into the body, and then we'll begin to build some heat through some sun salutations. We'll move into standing postures, twists, some standing balances, a little bit of everything before we start to bring it back down again. So let's start in child's pose. We'll separate the knees nice and wide, about mat width apart. Take the big toes together, pull the hips down towards the heels, walk the hands out nice and long. Take a deep inhale into the backside ribs, and as you exhale, bring the forehead to the floor. And a really nice way to begin the practice is to begin settling in and tuning into the body, slowing down the breath. So we'll just take a nice deep inhale, a long exhale, release, and just a couple more like that, settling into the body, tuning in, beginning to breathe deep and release. And then as you draw the next breath in, lift the head slightly and pat the hands around to the right. So keep patting them around so that left sit bone lifts up, and then pull it back down so you feel that nice stretch through the left side of the body. And then release the forehead to the floor. On the next inhale, lift back up, pad the hands back around to center, and then as you exhale, take them over to the other side till the right sit bone lifts up, and then root it back down towards the heel. Feel that stretch through the right side of the body. Exhale, release the forehead. And inhale, lift back up, pad the hands back around to center, lift the hips. We'll draw the knees in underneath the hips into tabletop pose, and we'll warm up the spine with some cat-cows. So we'll inhale, dip the belly, pull the heart through the shoulders, look forward, and then exhale, tuck the tailbone, draw the belly up towards the spine, tuck the chin, feel that stretch across the shoulder blades, the whole back of the body. Inhale, dip the belly, lift the hips, look forward, and exhale to round. Belly pulls up towards the spine, tucking the tailbone, pushing the floor away with the hands. One more like that. Inhale to arch, look forward, dip the belly, and exhale to round. And then as you inhale, come to neutral. And we're just going to step that right leg back so the ball of the foot is pressing into the floor. Take an inhale, lift the left arm up, squeeze the inner thighs together a little bit as you twist and reach, open through the left side ribs. And exhale, take that left hand underneath you, palm facing up, bring the back of the shoulder to the floor as the left side of the face comes down towards the floor. So nice stretch through the shoulder. If you feel like you can get in a little deeper, then crawl those right fingertips forward, root down through that right hand and pull down through the front of the shoulder. And then as you inhale, draw the hand back, press the floor away. One more twist, reach that left arm up. And exhale, bring it back down into tabletop. We'll do the other side. Step the left leg back, ball of the foot roots into the floor. As you inhale, reach the right arm up, twist, squeeze the thighs together. And exhale, take the hand underneath you, palm facing up. Bring the back of the shoulder to the floor. And if you can get in a little deeper, crawl those left fingertips forward. Root down through the front of that left shoulder. Relax the face, relax the neck. And then walk the left hand back. Inhale, one more twist as you push the floor away with that left hand. Reach up with the right. And then exhale, we'll bring it back down. And then we'll tuck the toes, lift the knees, and press back into downward facing dog. So downward dog, you want the feet about hip width apart, the hands about shoulder width apart, spreading the fingers nice and wide, rooting them into the floor. And think about pulling your hips back and up and pressing the thighs back. So you don't need to get your heels to the floor here. You don't need to have the legs nice and straight. You just want to push the floor away and feel that nice space through the front of the body, down the back of the hamstrings, so you can cycle the legs if that feels nice. Maybe sway a little from side to side, looking towards the thighs, releasing the chin and feeling that stretch down the back of the neck. Nice, and then we'll take one more inhale here. And as you exhale, bend the knees, and we're just going to tiptoe the feet up towards the hands. Separate the feet so they're a little bit more than hip width apart, soft bend in the knees, and fold over the thighs. Really allowing the heaviness of the head to fall towards the floor. You can either leave the arms nice and long, let them hang against the floor, or you can hold onto opposite elbows. Create a little more stretch through the side of the ribs. Stay still or sway from side to side, just lengthening out the back of the body, the neck. Nice. One more inhale as you come to stillness. Exhale, release the hands, bend the knees deep and roll up the length of the spine, keeping the head heavy all the way to the top. And then as you lift the chin, take an inhale as you roll the shoulders back, give the body a bit of a shake, and come to the top of your mat if you're not already. And then we'll take a deep inhale, reach the arms up, feel the length through the front of the body, and an exhale as we bow forward and fold. Take an inhale, lift halfway up, take the fingertips to the shins as you press the thighs back. So you get a nice hamstring stretch as the chest lifts and the crown of the head pulls forward. And then exhale, take the hands to the floor. We'll step that right leg back, bring the knee to the floor, press the top of that back foot into the floor. Inhale as you reach up. Reach through the fingertips, lift through the chest, but then pull the waist up and out of the hips a little bit as you drive forward through that front right hip. Exhale, take the hands to the floor. We'll tuck that back toe, lift the back knee, slide the front leg back into a high plank. You can always feel free to bring your knees down here. That's always an option. Inhale here. As you exhale, hug the elbows in, and we'll lower all the way to the floor. Now we're going to take the hands a little wider, further apart and forward of the shoulders. Take an inhale, gently lift the chest. Open up the heart and pull the front ribs forward so you feel that nice stretch through the chest, through the upper back. Exhale, gently unwind. Slide the hands under the shoulders and push back onto the knees first or straight back into downward facing dog. And then adjust the hands and the feet as you need. Rooting down through the fingertips, releasing the back of the neck, pushing the floor away so you're getting that stretch under the arms, through the chest, and through the back of the body, creating that lift through the belly and the hips, pressing back through the thighs. And then inhale as you lift up that right leg. We want to keep the hips square here. Drive back through that right heel and then pull the heart towards that left leg, getting a really nice stretch through that left hamstring. As you inhale, draw the knee in towards the chest. Exhale, release the foot. Bring the back knee down, top of that back foot presses into the floor as you reach on up and lift through the chest. Pull the waist up and out of the hips. Nice, and then exhale, release the hands, step the back foot forward and fold. Soft bend in the knees. Inhale, lift the chest, crown of the head pulls forward, thighs press back, come halfway up. And as you exhale, refold. Deep inhale as you rise on up. Root down through the feet, maybe a soft bend in the knees. Reach the arms out wide, bring the palms together, and exhale to the heart. And we'll do that again on the other side. Take an inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the chest halfway up, fingertips to the shins. Exhale, plant the hands, step the left leg back, coming into a low lunge. Bring the knee down. Inhale, reach the arms up, lift the chest, lengthen through both sides of the body. Exhale, take the hands down, and we'll lift that back knee, slide the right leg back into a high plank, or bring the knees to the floor. Keep the glutes a little bit squeezed and the tailbone tucked. Inhale here. Exhale, hug the elbows in, slowly lower all the way to the floor. This time we're going to keep the hands underneath the shoulders. Press the top of the thighs into the floor. As you inhale, pull the heart forward. So you're not pushing the floor away with the hands and using all that strength in the arms to lift up so much as you're using your back muscles to peel open. So feel them working as you're getting that little bit of a back bend. And then exhale, unwind, tuck the toes, make your way back into downward facing dog. And then take a couple of breaths here. Feel into the body. Notice if you've lost your breath or you've lost your rhythm. It's our breath that leads us through the practice, so always bringing yourself back to your breathing. And then shift the weight onto that right leg. We'll inhale, lift up the left, keep the hips nice and square, so you're pulling a little bit down through that left front hip point, and then driving back through the left heel. Rooting through the fingertips, getting that stretch in that right hamstring. As you inhale, draw the knee into the chest. Exhale, release the foot in between the hands. Bring the back knee down. Top of the back foot presses into the floor. As you inhale, lift and open. And then exhale, fingers to the floor. Step the back foot forward and bow. Soft bend in the knees. Release the upper body. Inhale, lift the chest. Press the thighs back halfway up. Exhale, refold. And then as you inhale, root the feet into the floor, rise on up nice and gently, palms come together, maybe a little lift of the chest as you drive up through the fingertips, and then exhale, hands to the heart. Nice. Let's take another inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bow forward and fold. Nice long exhale. Deep inhale, halfway lift. This time as you exhale, plant both hands and either step back or you can take a little hop into high plank. Try and keep the elbows a little bit soft. Feel free to bring the knees down. Slightly clench those glutes so the tailbone is tucked, the belly's lifted up towards the spine. Take an inhale. As you exhale, hug the elbows in, lower all the way to the floor. Inhale, peel open into cobra. Exhale, unwind. Tuck the toes, make your way back into downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. Lengthen through the arms, lift through the thighs, and pull the front ribs towards the front of the thighs. And then bend the knees and look forward as you inhale. As you exhale, take a step or maybe a little hop forward and fold. Inhale, halfway lift, press the thighs back. As you exhale, refold. And then inhale, root the feet into the floor with a nice flat back, rise on up, bring the palms together. Exhale, hands to the heart. And we're going to do one of those one more time. Inhale, reach the arms out wide, bring the palms together. Exhale, press the thighs back as you bow. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, either step or a little hop back to a high plank, elbows soft, find that length in the spine, thighs strong, maybe the knees come down. Exhale, hug the elbows in, come all the way to the floor. Inhale, peel the heart open, squeeze the elbows in, and then exhale, make your way back into downward facing dog. Softening the back of the neck, releasing the jaw, maybe a little shake of the head, no. Take another inhale here. As you exhale, bend the knees, look forward, step or a little hop forward and bow. Inhale, halfway lift, press the thighs back. Exhale, refold. As you inhale, root the feet into the floor to rise on up. Palms come together and exhale, hands to the heart. So we should be starting to feel a little bit warm now. And we're going to step those big toes together. Take an inhale, pull the hips down and back, squeeze the knees together, come into chair pose. You're still at the top of the mat. I've just turned to face you so you can see me better. Draw the hips back so you can feel all the weight sink into the heels, and maybe you can lift all 10 toes, belly draws up and away from the thighs, so you should be starting to feel those quads switch on now. One more inhale, and then exhale, lift the hips and fold. Nice. Inhale, halfway lift, pull the chest forward. Exhale, hands to the floor, step or maybe a little hop back to high plank. Squeeze the glutes a little bit, engage the thighs, maybe those knees come down. Inhale here, exhale, hug the elbows in. We're going to come all the way to the floor and then release the hands beside the body with the palms facing up. Or if you have the space, you might like to interlace the fingers behind the back. Inhale as you draw the knuckles towards the heels and squeeze those thighs together. So you're not actively lifting the legs up, but they're naturally going to do that as you engage through the whole back of the body. And you're probably looking up at me, so just be aware of that chin lifting up. Tuck it down so the back of the neck is still nice and long, but you're getting that lift through the chest. So both sides of the body are folding into the center, everything's squeezing together. Continue to breathe. Last inhale. Exhale, release that. Take a cheek to the floor as you one by one slide the hands underneath the shoulders, and we'll just pull back into a child's pose before we go into down dog. So pull those hips back towards the heels, root the fingers a little bit into the mat so you can get that stretch under the arms, bring the forehead to the mat. And then inhale, lift the hips, tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. This time as you inhale, we'll lift up that right leg, but we'll bend the knee and open up the hip. So lean into it a little bit, feel that stretch through the right side of the body, but keep rooting down through the front of that right shoulder. So it's like you're trying to pull that right heel down towards the outer left sit bone. And then exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest, step the foot in between the hands, and we'll turn and ground that back heel so the foot's on about 45 degrees. Rise up into a warrior one. So your knee should be above your heel, and that back foot, if you were to step forward, should be in line with that hip. So you don't want it to be heel to heel. We'll do that soon, that's warrior two. You want it to be over to the left a little bit so the hips are nice and square. Reach the arms up, palms facing each other, lift through the fingertips. So you should get a nice stretch through the front of that left hip. One more inhale. Exhale, take the hands to the floor. Slide that front foot back. Come into a high plank or bring the knees down. Inhale here. Exhale, hug the elbows in. Lower all the way to the floor. Inhale, lift the chest, squeeze the elbows in. And then exhale, unwind, tuck the toes, make your way back into downward facing dog. Take a look at where the hands are, where the feet are. Maybe you need to widen the hands a little bit more to get that more of a stretch through the chest. Our bodies are different, so how far apart we have them or how long we have our arms and legs really just depends on the space that we have and the makeup of our body. So if you kind of feel this rounding in your back, then it might mean you need to just walk the hands back a little bit and lift the hips a little bit more, or it might actually mean you need to walk forward a little bit more and bend the knees. So just kind of feel into your body, but you should be thinking back bend in the forward fold. So think about pulling that cow pose we did at the beginning. Think about cow pose, so pulling the chest towards the thighs, having a nice long spine. And then inhale, lift up that left leg, bend the knee, open up the hip. So you're driving that left heel down towards the outer right sit bone, but pulling down towards the floor with that left shoulder. So nice stretch through the left side of the body. And then exhale as you draw the knee in towards the chest. Step the foot in between the hands and turn and ground that back foot. Use the strength of that front thigh to rise up into warrior one. So palms facing each other, lift through the chest, but notice if you're dipping into that lower back, pull the belly in so you're nice and strong through your center. And again, if it feels a little kind of shaky with that back knee, or you sort of feel like you're getting a stretch in the wrong area, you probably just need to take your right leg out to the side and maybe step it forward a little bit. One more inhale, reach and lift. Exhale, take the hands to the floor. We'll slide that front leg back. Inhale here, or bring those knees down. Exhale, hug the elbows in, lower all the way to the floor. Inhale, lift the heart, pull it forward. Exhale, unwind, tuck the toes, and press back into downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here. Recultivate that rhythm to your breath. So whether we're moving or not, we want to keep that nice, deep, slow rhythm, using our breath to move us through. And then inhale, bend the knees, look forward. As you exhale, step or maybe a little hop forward and fold. We'll take an inhale, lift halfway up, press the thighs back, crown of the head pulls forward. Exhale, refold. And then as you inhale, lift the chest, pull the hips back into that chair pose we started with, and then just heel toe the big toes together, squeeze the knees together. That just stops you from having your knees out to the side. It keeps everything a little bit more engaged, using a lot more strength through the front of the hips. So just be aware if those knees are kind of hanging out around here, you want to pull them back in so they're over the ankles. Nice. And then inhale, root the feet into the floor as you rise on up. Palms together, maybe a little lift through the chest. Exhale, hands to the heart. And we'll build on that, starting again with chair pose. So take an inhale, reach the arms up, and then as we exhale, we're going to squeeze those knees together again, come back into chair pose. Keep that chest lifted if you can. Think about drawing the shoulder blades back and down the back of the body. And then exhale, press the thighs back and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. A little step or hop back to high plank. Inhale here. Exhale, hug the elbows in. Lower all the way to the floor. We're going to do a locus pose again, so the option is yours, palms facing up, or interlace the hands behind the back. Inhale, squeeze the thighs together, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Crown of the head pulls forward. Maybe on every inhale, you can lift the chest a little more. Feel all the muscles down the back of the body working, through the thighs, the glutes. And then exhale, release. Maybe take the other cheek to the floor this time as you release the hands one by one under the shoulders. And we'll pull back into a child's pose. Drawing the hips towards the heels. Release as the forehead comes to the floor. And then inhale, lift the hips again. Or exhale, tuck the toes, press back into downward facing dog. So the heart pulls towards the thighs. Again, we're not trying to pull those heels down towards the floor. We want to create a little lift through the back of the thighs, so we get a nice stretch all the way through the back of our body, but keeping a nice long spine at the same time. Shift the weight into the left leg. Inhale as you lift the right, and we'll bend that knee again. Open up the hip. I find if you keep that right foot flexed, it helps keep that whole leg switched on. Exhale as you draw the knee in towards the chest. Step the foot in between the hands, and we're going to rise up into a high lunge. So high lunge, as opposed to warrior one, our stance is a lot wider. All 10 toes facing forward, that back heel is lifted. So if you're feeling a little wobbly, you might just want to heel toe that front leg out to the right a little bit more. Lift the hips, shoulders stack above the hips, belly pulls in. Lifting through that back thigh, opening up, reaching. Nice, one more inhale. Maybe you can sink those hips down a little more. And then as you exhale, we're going to take the hands to the heart. Notice if the shoulders are up around the ears, let them soften. Pull the heart forward, twist over to the right, and hook the left elbow over the outer right thigh. So again, if you're feeling a little wobbly on the feet here, then just heel toe that right leg over even more to widen the stance. And then press that top hand into the bottom hand as the thumbs pull in. Squeeze the inner thighs together. You can look at the floor, you can look to the side, you can maybe test your balance even more and look up at the ceiling, whatever feels good for you. But notice if your neck is strained, you want to keep it nice and relaxed. Nice. And then inhale as you use the strength of that front thigh to lift back up. And then we're going to turn and ground that back heel to about 45 degrees. Open up that left arm first into Warrior Two. So Warrior Two, we want that front heel to line up with the arch of the back foot. And this line in the middle of my mat actually makes it a lot easier for me to see. So notice if that front knee kind of dips in, you want to use the strength of the inner thighs to pull it out. So your knee's in line with your hip and it's in line with your ankle. Strong through that back thigh, root down through the outer foot, spreading the arms nice and wide, broaden through the shoulders and the collarbone, take an inhale. And as you exhale, we'll reverse that. So release the neck, walk those left fingertips down the thigh, and then inhale back to Warrior Two. We'll bend that front elbow, take the forearm to the top of the thigh with the palm facing up, press the thigh away so you're pushing up and out of that right shoulder, and then take that top arm over the ear. So it's like someone's trying to pull that top hand, pull you forward, but you're anchoring down through that back foot. Beautiful. Inhale back to Warrior Two. We'll exhale, reverse again, release the neck, release the jaw if you notice your teeth are clenching. Inhale back to Warrior Two, and then lengthen through that front leg. As you exhale, pull forward through those front fingers, rotate the shoulders, and then press the back of the hand to the inside of the thigh, reach that top arm up. You can always rest the fingers on top of the thigh, but I like to take it to the inside. It forces your core to hold you in position and stops you from leaning on that front leg. So opening up through that left side of the body. Nice. And then as you exhale, look down towards those front toes. Take that top arm forward and allow that left shoulder to pull towards the floor. So you get a really beautiful stretch all the way down the left side of the body. Nice. And then inhale, bend into that front knee as you come back to Warrior Two. And then we're going to hop that back foot forward just a few inches. Bend into that front knee and take the right fingers forward and then to the right. And when you're ready, lift up that back leg. So it doesn't matter if your legs aren't straight. That's not what's important here. If you have a bend in that standing leg, that's perfectly fine. You want to find length, so don't worry about how high that back leg goes. Try it and lift and open through the left side ribs. Maybe the gaze is on the floor, maybe it's to the side, maybe it's up at the ceiling. And if you have the space and you want to give it a go, bend that left knee. Maybe you can find the foot with the hand, press the foot into the hand and draw that left knee back. And then twist your gaze again. But just wherever you're at, you're doing good. You should feel that wobbling of that right foot, holding everything up in place. One more inhale here. As you exhale, release the foot if you have it. Soft bend in that standing foot. Take a giant step back into Warrior Two. And then we're going to interlace the hands behind us, turn the feet so they're parallel, draw the knuckles down, lift the chest, a little squeeze of the glutes as you look up, and exhale, fold into a wide-legged forward fold. Release the crown of the head, pull the knuckles over the head, get a nice stretch through the shoulders, and then as you exhale, release the hands, either taking them to the floor, and you can heel toe your feet as wide apart or as close together as feels comfortable for you here. If you really want to get into the inner thighs, then heel toe them out a little more, and then walk the hands as far under the feet as they will go. Again, feel into your body first. So don't think about what you look like here, think about how it feels and where you're feeling it. So maybe you have a soft bend in those knees, drawing those hips back a little. Nice, and then as you inhale, lift the chest, walk the hands back under the shoulders. Exhale, swivel that right foot around, but keep the fingers on the inside of that right leg. Lift the back heel, and then heel toe the right leg over a little more. So the toes are off the mat, and the heel is on the mat. Bring that back knee down. If this is already a really big stretch for you in the inner thighs, then take the right forearm to the top of the thigh and hang out here. Otherwise, if you can get in a little deeper, or you want to get a little bit more of a stretch through that front left hip, tuck the back toe, lift that knee back up. This is lizard pose. There's a lot of options, and all of our bodies are different, so really feel into what works best for you. Maybe you can bend that back knee, and if the knee's a little hard on the floor, you can just fold the mat over, give it a little extra padding. And when you bend that back knee, you want to open through the right shoulder. See if you can take a hold of the inside or the outside of the foot. It doesn't really matter. It'll just give you a slightly different stretch. If you twist into it, you'll get a nice twist and an opening through the right shoulder. And if you draw that front right shoulder forward, you'll get more of a stretch through the quad. And if you've got super open hips and you still want more, you can bring the forearm to the floor. So there's a lot of options. Feel into your body, do what feels good. Beautiful. One more inhale here. If you have the foot, try and release out of the hip a little bit before you release it so it doesn't slingshot back. And then take the right hand to the floor, and we'll walk the hand back. And then we're just going to heel toe that right leg in towards the center a little bit more so it's in front of the hip. And then let's just prop our hands up to our hips first so we can find some space through the front of the body. Take a nice deep inhale. And then as you exhale, hinge forward. So again, you're not trying to straighten the leg. You're never trying to get the legs as straight as you can. You don't want to force it. So in any situation, always bend your knees as much as you need to bend them. Now, if your fingers can reach the floor, bring them down, and then creating the action of drawing that outer right hip back in space. So rather than trying to force the stretch in that right hamstring by pressing down, keep the length in your spine, keep the lift in your chest, and it's almost like you're trying to drag that front heel back in space. So really getting that stretch from finding the length. Nice, everyone. And then exhale, walk the hands forward, lift that back knee, slide that front foot out of there, and then bring the knees back down. And then just give that leg a little bit of a shake, a couple of hip rotations. You can either come back up to a high plank or keep the knees down. A little squeeze of those glutes, tuck that tailbone, inhale here, exhale, hug the elbows in, come all the way to the floor. Inhale, pull the heart forward, squeeze those elbows in. Try and soften through the shoulders. Exhale, unwind, tuck the toes, make your way back into downward facing dog. And then take a few breaths here. A few deep grounding, centering breaths before we move on to the other side. Releasing the back of the neck, lifting through the hips, pressing the thighs back. So again, if your knees are here or they're here, that doesn't really matter. Yoga is not about touching your toes, it's not about what you look like, it's about feeling into your body and doing what feels best for you. And then we'll take an inhale, lift up that left leg, bend the knee, and open up that hip. Drive that knee back in space, so it's like you're trying to pull it away from that left shoulder. And then exhale, draw the knee into the chest, release the foot in between the hands. That back heel stays lifted this time. We're coming into a high lunge. So if you need to separate the feet apart a little bit more to feel a little bit more sturdy, then you can do that as much as you need to. And just take a moment to allow gravity to pull those hips down, get a nice stretch, and then lift through that back thigh again. Pull back through the heel, drive forward through that front shin, and inhale, reach the arms up and lift. And then as you exhale, the hands come to the heart, draw the chest forward a little bit, twist to the left, and hook that outer right elbow against the outer left thigh. Pull the thumbs into the heart, try to soften this shoulder, draw the shoulder blade down the back. You can either look at the floor, to the side, or up at the ceiling. Notice if that back leg is getting saggy. Re-engage it, pull back through the heel. Nice. And then inhale, press through that front thigh, lift up, turn and ground that back heel, open up through the right arm first as you come into Warrior Two on the other side. Take a look at where your feet are. You want to line up that front heel with the arch of the back foot. Sink deep into that front thigh, and then notice if that knee is sinking in. Pull it back, so using the strength of that inner thigh. Ground down through that back heel, open the arms nice and wide, and then notice if the shoulders are kind of here, pull them back. Little tuck of the tailbone, draw the belly in, deep inhale, pull the arms apart, and then exhale, release the neck. Always taking any opportunity you can to release the neck. So it doesn't really matter where you look in whatever pose you're doing, try to make sure the neck is relaxed. And then inhale back to Warrior Two. We'll exhale, bend the elbow, take the forearm to the top of the thigh, take the top arm over the ear, and as you do, root down through the outside of that back foot, create a little lift through those top side ribs, and notice if you're sinking into that shoulder. Press the thigh away, pull up and out of the shoulder. Inhale back to Warrior Two, we'll reverse it again. Exhale as you sink on in, get that really nice stretch through the left side of the body. And then inhale back to Warrior Two. And then we're going to lengthen through that front leg, root down through those front toes. Exhale, pull the front fingers forward, and then rotate the shoulders around. Press the back of the hand to the inside of the thigh. It could be up here, it could be down there. I generally don't say bring the fingers to the floor, because then we all try to bring the fingers to the floor, and that's really not important. You want to keep as much length through the underside ribs as the top of the ribs. Reach up through those top fingers like someone's grabbing your hand and pulling you up in space. And again, you can look wherever you like. And then we'll bend through that front knee. Inhale back to Warrior Two. And then as you exhale, just heel toe or a couple of hops of that back foot forward. Sink into that front thigh. Take the left fingers to the floor, but then a little bit to the left. So notice if they're in front of those toes, take them to the left a little bit. That'll help you balance. When you're ready, lift up that back leg. Again, it doesn't matter how much of a bend you have in that standing leg. Try to keep this outer right thigh nice and strong. So think length. You want to be pulling it up through that outer thigh. It doesn't matter how high it is. Lift through the right side ribs. Maybe you bend the knee. Maybe you can find that foot and then press the foot into the hand and drive back through that right knee. So it's pulling towards the back of the room. And maybe you can test your balance even more by shifting your gaze and feeling that left foot really having to wobble around and work to keep you up here. And that's good. It's doing its job. Working into those stability muscles, helping with your balance. And then as you exhale, release the foot if you have it. Take a giant step back, heel toe the feet around to parallel. Interlace the hands behind you. Draw the knuckles down as you lift the chest. And exhale to fold. And then whenever you're ready, releasing the hands down to the floor. And you can either hang out here for a good few breaths, or if you want to get even deeper into the inner thighs, then heel toe the feet even further apart. Beautiful. And then inhale, we'll all lift the chest, heel toe the feet back in if you need to, and then walk the hands around to the front of the mat. You're heel toeing this left foot out, so the toes are off the mat and the heel's on the mat. And then bringing the back knee down. Suss out how you feel on this side. So now that we're on the second side, it's really easy to go into autopilot because we've already done one side, so we kind of know what we're going into. But both sides of our body are completely different. So feel into this side again. Just because you went a certain depth or you did something a certain way on one side, it doesn't mean that you can do that on the other side. One side's always stronger and more flexible than the other. Nice. So you're either hanging out here, the left forearm is on the top of that thigh, if that feels a little better for you, or you're tucking that back toe, lifting that back knee, and getting a little bit more into that front right hip. Maybe you can bend the knee, open up through the left shoulder, take a hold of the foot, and then if you want even more, maybe bringing that right forearm to the floor, either twisting into it, opening through the shoulder, or drawing that front left shoulder forward so you're getting into the quad. So wherever you are, take a couple more breaths. That's one more inhale. And then as you exhale, if you have the foot pull out of the hip first, release that gently. Pull the hips back just enough for you to heel toe that left foot in towards the center of the mat, so the ankle's in front of the hip. Lift the toes, and then let's just prop up before we go into that stretch. So finding space through the front of the body, hands on the hips for now. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, we're hinging forward from the hips. So notice my back staying nice and neutral. I'm not bending over. So you want to keep nice and flat. You don't have to go too far to get a good hamstring stretch. You can have a bent knee, you can be all the way up here, but it's better to have a bent knee and a flat back than it is to have a straight leg and a rounded back. So wherever you're at, find that stretch. Try not to force it. You're pulling that outer left hip back and around in space as the heart pulls towards the toes. One more inhale. As you exhale, sink into that front leg as you walk the hands forward. And then we're just going to lift that back knee to slide that front leg back, bring both knees down, and then maybe just make a couple of big circles with that left hip, loosen up that leg. And then we're simply going to swivel the heels around to the side as we sit the butt down, and we're going to come onto our backs. So just finishing off with a little bit of a heart opener and then a bit of an outer hip stretch before we call it a day. So walking those feet up towards the sit bones sort of as much as you can, so you can comfortably have both feet flat on the floor, creating a little squeeze of those inner thighs together. We always tend to, our knees and our hips tend to go out this way. We want to keep that strength in the inner thighs, really important for hip and knee health. Rooting the feet into the floor. Take a deep inhale with the hands beside the body. As you exhale, tuck the tailbone, squeeze the glutes, pull the hips up towards the ceiling. Really important to try not to move your neck around here. So the chin is tucked, the back of the neck is long, and you're using your feet pressing into the floor and the strength of your thighs and your glutes to lift you and open up through the front of the body. Now, if you want a little bit more openness through the chest, you can wiggle the shoulder blades underneath you. Maybe you can find the fingers of the opposite hand and loop them together. Press that fist a little bit into the floor, but again, you don't want to be using your arms to lift the chest. You want to be using the strength of the thighs. One more inhale, pull the hips up and drive that openness into the shoulders. So we're bending, we're not bending through the back of our body. Try not to dump into the lower back. We're bending by opening through the front. And then as you exhale, release the hands if you have them, really slowly wind on down, and then windshield wipe the legs from side to side. Nice. And then root that right foot into the floor, flex the left foot, hook the ankle over the top of the thigh, interlace the left hand in between the thighs. Maybe you interlace the hands on the back of that right thigh, maybe you can reach it around the shin, and then roll those shoulder blades back and pull that right thigh in towards the chest. So you should get a really nice stretch through that left glute. Really important to keep this foot flexed so you're driving that pressure into the glute and not into the knee. One more inhale. As you exhale, release the hands, release the right foot to the floor. Keep sliding the left leg over so it's like you're in a cross-legged position on a chair. Reach the arms out wide and then release the knees over to the right. Let the body fall into it. Maybe you take that right hand to anchor down that outer left thigh. Root down through the back of that left shoulder and then look over the left shoulder. Really nice stretch all the way through the left side of the body, into the spine, releasing the belly if you can. And then as we inhale, we'll draw back up, unwind, root that left foot into the floor, flex the right foot and hook the ankle over the top of the thigh. And then take that right hand, loop it in between the thighs, and you're interlacing the fingers either behind the back of that left thigh or the left shin. And then pull that front of the left thigh in towards the chest. I kind of like to rock from side to side a little bit so I can get a bit of a massage on the muscles on either side of the spine. Beautiful. And then exhale, release that. Keep that foot looped over as you bring the left foot down, and then keep sliding the right thigh over the left, arms out wide. Exhale, release the knees to the left. Maybe that left hand comes to the outer right thigh. Root down through the back of the right shoulder and shift the gaze over. Take a couple of breaths here to unwind, release the belly, release the shoulder, release the hips. And then as you inhale, draw back up, unwind, give the knees a hug in, and either rocking up and down the length of the spine, or if that feels, I quite like that massage through the shoulder blades and the back of my body, but if you'd rather just roll over to one side and come up to a seat, you can do that as well. So we'll come up to a comfortable cross-legged position, nice long spine, open heart, releasing the arms. We'll take a deep inhale, sigh out the mouth, and we bring our hands to our heart and we bow in gratitude for taking the time to look after ourselves. Thank you very much for joining, and if you'd like to take a short Shavasana to soak up the space and the practice, you can lie on down and just focus on your breath and release for a couple of minutes. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining me.